All right, everybody. I want to welcome to the show my good buddy Oscar Rincones. Oscar, how are you, buddy?
I'm great. You, George?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Just trying to survive with everything going on with this whole COVID-19, but we're making everyday work, man.
You got to make the best of it.
That's what we're trying to do. But Oscar, man, I greatly appreciate you being on the show, and we've known each other for a few years now, and I know you felt kind of a certain kind of way when I decided to do the show and to kind of reach out to people and to kind of give people, an outlet or, folks to look up to. And, especially right now, things are tough for a lot of people. And, we're trying to open up a platform on how to help people improve their way of life, looking at things kind of like a project, but, not necessarily like in a project management sense. Kind of go through your story a little bit, kind of give us a little bit of background. I know kind of like me, just kind of an average guy that has found a way to make it, but, have put certain things in place to kind of help us get to where we're at.
Yeah. So for me, man, what I would say is kind of like my driving factor or something that I learned at an early age was work ethic. My grandfather's always owned restaurants his entire life, and naturally I wanted to be like him. We look up to people and we want to be like them. So he started paying me 50 cents an hour when I was 8 years old. And, but he taught me the work ethic and how to manage money and do what's right, so forth and so on. So, that's kind of where it came from. So, from 8 years old working at my grandfather's restaurants on the weekends to, now, I'm in high school and, I've always been my own person, and I hated going to my parents and saying, "Hey, I want to go with my friends. Can I have some money? We're going to go see a movie," or what have you. If if they didn't have the money or just didn't want to, then guess what? I didn't get to go. So for me, it was easy. Just earn your own money and you don't have to ask for any, and you get to do what you want. And so, that's kind of, again, where it went further, and I was working all weekend and after football, tried to work, and I hated telling myself no whenever I wanted to do something. And so growing and learning, and then now here it is, I'm 18. College wasn't, it wasn't in the cards for me. Actually, I'm a high school dropout, but I ended up getting my GED, and it wasn't anything specific, about high school. I wasn't hanging out with the wrong crowd or anything. It just honestly got to the point, to where I was annoyed. I was annoyed by the teachers treating me like I was a kid and other kids acting immature. I just felt like it wasn't for me. And so, left high school immediately. I moved to Miami, and I worked with my dad's company. And just to back up, him and I didn't always have the best relationship, but he was a great father. I moved out when I was 17, still went to school, still worked. But him and I just couldn't get along. We couldn't live in the same house together. And so, tried to finish school, and like I said, just felt like it wasn't for me anymore. And when I moved to Miami, I actually needed people that can actually move from Dallas to Miami, and that had a clean background and can pass a drug test and everything. And back then, this was back in 2005, they were paying $23 an hour in all the overtime that you wanted. And so I immediately went there. I called the foreman. He's like, "Yep, get out here." I was like, "Okay, cool." And so I'm an 18-year-old guy, I'm, doing well for myself, getting to experience everything. And, I met one of my neighbors. He was an older gentleman. He was in his mid-50s, and he took a liking to me and started talking about investing and managing money. Like, of course, everything that I was super excited about, that had my complete interest. he was there to talk about it. So from there, I did marketing with a marketing firm out of New Orleans called Level 10 Marketing. And so did that job. They moved me around. I always excelled in every company really fast because I was motivated by being the best, putting the best effort, going in early, working weekends, staying late, just beating everybody in all areas of the work. And so I excelled really fast, and then the crash in 2008 happened, and all my clients were these small dealerships in small towns, and so they got hit the hardest, it seemed like. So got into credit repair, and George, as you know, I ended up opening up my own company, and had a chance of about 3.5 years after opening it to sell and virtually become debt free, and step into the mortgage business for that. I got recruited. They found me the buyer of my business. Started working with the mortgage company. Did very well. It was exciting not to have to manage people. And credit repair, I didn't mean to start that business. It kind of came to me in a way. I just couldn't find a company that had the right morals, or their morals didn't align with mine. And so one of my referral sources said, man, just start your own company. And so that's kind of what happened. And fast forward a year later, I did, Genesis Credit Solutions did $12,000 short of $1 million its first year in business.
Oh, wow.
And that was without any advertising. That was with no marketing. Like halfway through that, I didn't even have a website up. It was just the word of mouth and the trust that people put into me. So got recruited to the mortgage company to launch a new product. I told them I wasn't excited about managing people. I just sold my business that had 32 employees, and I said, if you're willing to match my pay and I don't have to manage people, sign me up. So that's what happened. 6 months later, I'm starting to manage people. Then it was like a team, hey, build this team out. And before I knew it, all those same headaches were back. Why that was such a problem for me is because, let me tell you, I have a 7-year-old, I have a 3-year-old, and I have a 9-month-old. And so I value that time with them, and trying to manage big kids while trying to save time for the little kids that you have, it's not so easy. And so, I was there at Mid-America Mortgage for 2 years. And so I told them, I said, look, I'm doing the things I told you I didn't want to do, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hire and train my replacement, and I'm going to be out of here in 3 months. And of course, they tried to offer more money and, try to relieve my stress level. And it just, my heart wasn't in it. I had already made up my mind. My wife will tell you once that happens, that, there's no turning back. And it's true. If I go with something, it's because I've thought about it on both sides, what good can happen and what not so good. So, I made up my mind to leave, and then it was like, so what do I do now? Only the better position was I had zero debt at this point because the sale of my business, I paid everything off. My wife is a school counselor, so financially, we can live off of what she made if we had to. But the benefit to that was I can now do whatever it is that I want to do and not have to worry. We had savings and, low reliabilities monthly. So it was easy for me. And so now what I'm doing is I'm ceramic coating people's personal airplanes and jets and high-end sports cars and So I get to be around a lot of cool stuff. My clients fly me everywhere. I'm about to be a pilot myself. It's a really fun and exciting area to do business in. It really is. And how I got started with that was I've always kept my vehicles clean, and then I started trading my neighbors. You cut my grass and I'll wash your car. And then it's, hey, I'll machine polish your car if you hang Christmas lights. Well, then word started to get out. Then other neighbors were like, well, I just want to pay you to do it, and then ceramic coatings came in. And this is all within, like, it started with the car washes when I was at Mid-America. And by this point on the weekend, I'm making $1,000 in 2 days.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so I'm like, I can do this, of course, $1,000 a week is a huge pay drop than what I'm accustomed to. But at this point, to me, time with my family was worth more. And if I can still contribute for a couple of years, and my wife was like, if you're happy, this is the happiest I've seen you, just stay where you're at. That's fine. But about a month after I had left the mortgage company, my neighbor down the street says, hey, I got an airplane. You want to put that ceramic stuff on my airplane? I was like, yeah. And so first of all, what do you mean you have an airplane? Because back then I didn't know anything about it. I'm like, man, who's this multimillionaire living down the street from me in his normal house, And he's got an airplane. And of course he does well for himself, but yeah. So anyway, so I go, he goes, so where my airplane is at, it's at this flight school. And I'm the only, my airplane is the only one that's there that is not a flight school plane. He goes, so it's going to be in a big hangar. There's going to be a lot of people coming and going. Just take as long as you need and then pay, tell me what I owe you at the end. Of course there was some trust there. And so it took me about 4 days. And, at the end of those 4 days, I had already had deposits on 4 other airplanes from pilots that owned their own plane, and they were seeing what I was doing. They wanted that done to their airplane too. And so, and then at the end of whenever I was done with my neighbor's plane, he gave me $3,000.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm like, okay. Yeah, I was like, so he gave me $3,000 in 4 days. That's the kind of money I'm used to, Plus now I have a 3-day weekend, I could do a plane a week.
Right.
And with those other 4 planes, I'm done, like 4 a month. That's, now I'm back to the 150 I was making every year, And I'm getting to work on airplanes, be my own boss. And if I could just get faster at that, I can get it done in 2 days, maybe 3 days, And, of course, it didn't work out that way. What ended up happening was more people heard about what I was doing, and more people started calling. And now, almost 2 years later, I've only given out 1 box of business cards. I still don't have a website. I still don't market. I don't do anything. I just hired my 5th person. And George, I'm trying to keep the growth down, because I know what it's like to manage people. And again, I just didn't want to deal with that right now. But people are just, the demand is there for this, and nobody's there to fill it.
Yeah,
and
that's
so
almost like an untapped market if you really look at it. It's a very small niche of folks that, when we start talking, high-end cars and airplanes, that's a small pool of people that, actually try to hit that niche. So definitely.
Yeah. And it's like those people that spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on their airplanes, they want it to look the best that they can because, maybe not for everybody, but it would be for me. If, one day when I buy my airplane, of course I try to be humble, but that's going to show my hard work. And that's something that I can travel with in my family, and we can do more. And of course, at the same time, knowing that not too many people get to experience that or get to own one, but yes, to second what you were saying, yes, they want it to look their best. They invest a lot of money in it. Of course, the airplane's not the only thing that they have nice. There's always, a collection of cars or their personal vehicle that they want me to polish and ceramic coat. And now I don't even do the cars unless I've done the airplane before, which is in a way kind of created more demand. And I'm truly in a blessed position because nobody's ever done what I'm doing. Of course, with all my past experience, I'm not just an uneducated guy that doesn't know how to present himself or carry a conversation that's going to work, make their airplane look nice. Like, all of my customers become my friends. Like, they let me stay at their house. They let me drive their Ferrari on the weekend. They invite me out on their boat. Like, they're all my friends. And, of course, they're paying me very well, too. But the people that I have, I pay them almost double what they would get paid working somewhere else. And the reason I do that is because I don't have to manage them. I'm getting a different, a better quality of employee because they're going to be there on time. They're not going to let you down. They have a lot of common sense, and they take pride in their work. And, for them to come in and make $90,000, $100,000 a year doing the same fun stuff that I'm doing, make it creates a loyal workforce. And it shows, and I couldn't be happier right now, George, honestly.
Man, that's so good to hear. And like you mentioned, I came in, our relationship started back when I lived in Dallas and doing real estate. And, we really hit it off because, just like you, I ran my real estate business and try to be as humble and as caring for my clients as you were, with credit repair. And that's kind of what drew us together and started that relationship there. And as we continue to grow, and you've hit on a bunch of great points, and can you just talk about just with your success and what you've done, just some of the thought that has been put into going and planning out what you're doing and kind of how to grow your businesses over the time, or even just what to take that next step? Because obviously this new business, it kind of just continued to grow, but I know at some point you had to stop and kind of plan this out on kind of what you wanted this to become. Who was it going to impact? Can you kind of just talk on that, just over your years of experience? How much has planning played into your success on being able to kind of sit back, take a step back and kind of plan before you jump into something? Because I know even with this, even though it started to kind of grow pretty quick, you did have to kind of stop and tell yourself, hey, where do I want to really go with this? What's it really going to do? Can you just touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, and that's a great point. I mean, if you don't plan to succeed, you plan to fail. For me, it was a little different, George. Like I have my core beliefs, and that was number one, and that was be honest, be the best at what you do, and have some integrity, and take pride in your work. And so the planning for me, in a way, was kind of trying to keep up with business because it was coming so fast. And I know that that's kind of counterproductive to what you're saying, but I'll get to my point. It was, doing the right thing. It was kind of refreshing for people, I think, to find the honesty and to find the hard work and the integrity and everything else. But that's how I get my business, and it's through relationships and of course, meeting more people that know what you do. They ask more questions, they talk about it. But the initial plan for me was, of course, that I always write out, okay, what's my short-term goals, what's my long-term goals, and when I say write them out, I'm not just like a 1 or 2 line sentences. I talk about what my life is going to be like in that year, down to the vehicle that I'm driving, where I live, what my portfolio looks like, what my marriage looks like, all of these things. So that's to answer your question. That's how I plan it. I envision myself, and then from there, it's from day to day figuring out, and what I'm doing, is that going to get me further towards where I need to be, or is it hindering me? And so when you set your plans like that, then you can go back and easily answer that question. If I invest in this machine or this service, is it really is it gonna get me closer to where I need to be, or can this hinder me? And I think that when you set things up like that, it's very easy to make decisions.
Yeah, most definitely. And I think you've hit on a couple great points that, I continuously try to emphasize on the show, and understanding, especially on a plan, on one thing that I think a lot of people forget, and you've touched on it multiple times, on all the people that are going to actually be impacted by your plan in the way that you're going to move this forward. And I know for you, it was your family, and that kind of helped plan a lot of the decisions, or play a huge role in some of the decisions that you were going to make, and the plans that you were going to make with your businesses, deciding to sell, and at what point, the key stakeholders for you, a lot of it did revolve around your family. And I think that's one thing that a lot of people forget as they jump into stuff, right? As they look at something, a small life project, they forget to look about all the people that's just going to impact outside themselves, because a lot of people tend to look at, when they take on a life project, they tend to look at it from one side, to think that, hey, this is just going to impact me. But I think you touched on some great points on, really honing in on your family, because ultimately for you, it was more beneficial to take that time with your kids, especially at the ages that they're at, than to slave yourself 60, 70 hours and miss out on so many memories.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, to me, that was worth way more than anybody could ever pay me, because I could never buy that back. If I became a billionaire one day, I couldn't buy that time back. And, I'm definitely blessed to understand that,
No, that's great, Oscar. And, it's something, not everyone, even, folks our age, right? Because we're fairly young. We're in our early 30s, and figuring this stuff out. And with talking to our parents, it's something that they figured out later in life, right? That yes, you had to have a plan, but you forget about all the people that are involved in that plan, because their ultimate goal, I know when I talk to my parents, their ultimate goal was to make sure that me and my sisters had a better life than they had growing up. But that meant, taking 60 hours a week, 70 hours a week at work to try to, hit that plan. But they lost so much time with us without thinking about the folks that are impacted by the plan. And I think, even talking about it, you get down to the inches on where you want to be. And I think, you hit it very well on scheduling it. Hey, where do I want to be in 6 months from today? Looking at it and always being able to modify that, but even looking at scheduling things, planning it out and building a schedule for yourself, seems to have paid dividends, because where you want to be in Q3 of whatever year you're going into. And if you're not, then you're adjusting your plan. Am I safe to say that that's a correct statement coming from you?
Yeah, exactly, man. Exactly. And once again, whenever you have that plan and you have that vision set out for you, it's very easy to answer those questions. Is this working? Is this working to get me to where I need to end up by this time? Or is this hindering me? So it's very simple. It makes things easier for you. And of course that rolls over to better family life, because you don't have to sit and think all night while you're at dinner or at your kid's soccer game. Like, am I going to lose everything because I made this decision? You know what I mean? You don't have to think about all these what ifs. It's very simple. At this point, does this look like it's going to lead you to where you want to go, or is it not?
Yeah, most definitely, and it's something that folks our age, and even if you are 40 or 50, to sit back and just stop a little bit, take a knee, and think about it, and think about the life project you're trying to do. And I always call them a what and why statement. What am I trying to do, and why am I trying to do it? As I look at who it impacts and things of that sort. And I think you hit on it perfectly on, as we start to go into this and refine our plan, we start to answer those questions on what are we doing? Is it becoming a success, or is it not becoming a success? Oscar, before I let you go, man, what advice do you have out there for folks, trying to if they were trying to improve themselves, just a little bit in life, whether it's tackling weight loss, whether it's tackling, becoming more financially free, or whatever projects they come up in life, what type of advice from someone as successful as you would you give someone that they can possibly, just make one or two small tweaks within their life to possibly help them kind of hit that next level and help them grow personally, financially, whatever their ultimate goal is?
Yeah, good question, man. And the long answer is get into Dave Ramsey. Like, he talks about becoming debt free, and the process to doing that. What he has done for himself and thousands of others. I use that. Once you find out about it, you understand that what he says is you spend every dollar on something, and that's towards debt. Well, the same thing with your plan. Write out your entire 24-hour day. How many hours you're going to sleep? How many hours you're going to be? How much time does it take to take a shower? I have to go to the grocery store on this day. I need time to watch this show on this day. I'm going to be at work at this time from this time. And so when you do that, George, you can then hold yourself accountable to that schedule. And when you become accountable to yourself, then you become accountable to other people, and vice versa. They will call, like my wife calls me out all the time. Like, hey, it's past 6 o'clock. You know what I did? Like, she knows how I am, but sticking to that, because what you're doing is you're dedicating time for your family, for your personal health, to worry about business and think about your future. When you plan those times out, you can't say, well, I don't have enough time to do this. Like, that's no longer an excuse. You can't say, oh, I didn't have enough time, I didn't do that. When you're planning out your day like that and your week, you do have time for these things that need to get taken care of. And even more than that, you're not worrying about, you taking your vehicle to get an oil change, when you should be worrying about your kids' college and their future, or, paying bills or something. Am I making sense? I hope I'm making sense.
No, you're definitely making perfect sense. And, it was something that I've talked about a couple different times on the show on, as you look at the requirements for what you're trying to do within your project, right? As you define what that project is, it then turns into, hey man, I'm trying to go back and I'm trying to get my master's degree, and what classes you have to take and when they're scheduled.
Yeah.
What's required for that class. Hey, it's recommended that I spend 6 hours on this class a week. Okay, where am I going to put that in my week? It's definitely, as you line it out and as you build that schedule, on a day-to-day basis, weekly or monthly, it's you're spot on with it, of lining it out and seeing what has to go where. And then again, even if you take it in on a week by week and you have to modify it just because either you scheduled it at the wrong time, right? These plans can always be modified, through trial and error, and you figure out what works. But yeah, man, it's definitely one of those things to where for a schedule wise, you shouldn't have any excuse, because what was required for it. You said it, and then again, bringing your accountability partner, and my wife does the same thing. Hey, it's 9 o'clock. You're supposed to go run. You need to be on the treadmill for the next 45 minutes. Like, what are you doing? And so definitely, man, it definitely helps to plan that out and then take a look at it, whether it's 1 or 2 weeks later to see if it's actually working, right? Answering that question, like you mentioned,
exactly.
is this moving me forward to the plan, or do I need to make a tweak to it? And, modifying the plan and what we go over, monitoring and controlling, we'll talk about in later episodes. But yes, there's just because it's, a schedule doesn't mean that it's set in stone.
Well, it's data, as you become further along in business, you look at data. Like, data is worth so much money because you can go back and look at the results from an action, and you could decide whether or not it's worth it to partake or not,
That's great, man. That's great. Oscar, man, I appreciate the time, brother. Next time I'm up in North Texas, we're definitely going to have to go grab some lunch when I'm out there. I try to get out there once a month if we can get out there. It's been a little hindered with the COVID-19, but I definitely appreciate you being a guest on the show, man. And can you throw out your new business name so if folks want to at least find you on Facebook? I know you at least got a Facebook page.
Yeah, it's Hangar 11.
Hangar
11 spelled out. Yep. Like the airplane hangar and then the number 11.
Awesome, man.
Well, it's nothing fancy, y'all. I haven't dedicated any time to making it look nice.
Well, I've taken a look at the pictures, and it's no lie, a lot of cool cars, a lot of cool airplanes, and you can, just with the videos and pictures alone, you can tell the dedication that you put into your work, man. It looks great, and I wish you all the success, man, as you continue to grow this business at your own pace, which is awesome when you can be your own boss and grow your business at your own pace. And when you tell yourself that, hey, I got to slow the growth of my business down, you're doing things pretty well.
Yeah. Thank you, George. I appreciate you.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you once again. And Oscar, just hit me up if you need anything, brother.
All right, man. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks.